Welcome back, everybody, to another week of possible spoilers ahead. Since we will be talking about the last week of wrestling, and while I may not be spoiling anything for you, as the name suggests, there could be possible spoilers ahead. As always, every week we start off with something to talk about. This week, it's a topic that a lot of us are talking about, including Ryan Joy of Minutes to Bell Time, who recently covered this on his daily wrestling news show. And that special topic is something that people either think doesn't exist, and those are usually the people that are responsible, or us who are the victims of this. And that is toxicity in the fandom. Not one day goes by that I don't see at least one person saying that a company is terrible simply because it does not meet their personal preferences for a wrestling show. Not one day goes by that I don't hear people saying things like sports entertainment is not wrestling in some form or another. As we have covered in a previous video about that specific topic, not one single person, not one person gets to define what is and is not professional wrestling. Not one day goes by without me seeing someone insulting another fellow fan because of a wrestler or promotion they like. Not one day goes by that we don't see posts from someone using one metric or another to compare shows to make themselves feel better about their own choices. Not one day goes by that I don't see people asking for links to illegal streams or people flaunting that they steal from companies they supposedly support. All of this and more are major contributing factors on why the toxicity in the internet wrestling community is getting very close to the same levels of politics, and it needs to stop. Why? Here's why and how to stop it. First, we have community. The first reason it needs to go is for that word that is in the C, in the IWC represents, and that is that community that I just said. Wrestling fans are not known to be the coolest people in the crowd of everyone. So the fact that we insult each other and bash someone for not liking exactly what we like is baffling. Obviously, from a psychological point of view, it comes from us being bullied from the general public as we grew up, or still to this day. And a lot of times, that abuse can lead to the victim finding someone to victimize themselves to regain a sense of superiority. That is hard to change, but it can be changed. How? Well, we just block and ignore. That is the easiest way. Don't be in Facebook groups where they allow that abuse to go unchecked. Don't be friends with people who act that way. The main thing we all can do is for us to see someone say something that makes you question their intelligence, ignore, and move on. Let's discuss our differences and try to understand why we like different styles of wrestling, instead of trying to act like we are on the winning team because of our choices. Now, next is you need to recognize about opinion. How many times do I see people using what people like? What do I say? Jim Cornette, Bruce Pritchard, Dave Meltzer, James Powell, Sean Rossap, and the like are all individuals with individual opinions. But people use those opinions as the gospel. I hear you all right now saying the same word. Experts. These gentlemen have years of experience and have the absolute right to express their opinion on the wrestling they watch, just as the rest of us do. The issues arise when we start quoting these opinions as the gospel that we should all be listening to. If you are with the opinion of these experts, great, support them. But don't jump down the throats of others for disagreeing. How do you do that? Simple. State your opinion on what you like, and don't wait for the ratings to come out to determine if a show is good. Watch it. Don't wait to hear what Cornette and Meltzer said about the show to form an opinion. Watch it. Why does an expert's opinion not? Why does it matter more than any others? Simple. Wrestling, like television and theater, is an art form. Art is subjective. You can say that you don't get a painting, or you can say that you don't like it. But no experience in the world gives you the right to say something is or is not a painting. Critics tell you why something failed creatively or failed with the acting performance, but what they don't do, if they truly are a real critic, is say a television show isn't a television show, or a play isn't theater. So when people like Jim Cornette say something like, "That's not wrestling," no, that is neither a valid critique or an opinion. And yes, opinions can be wrong. After all, it is some people's opinion that the world is flat. So opinions can be wrong. Now we move on to common ground. People forget there is one thing that binds us all together. We all have it in common. And at the core, it's that we are all wrestling fans. We all love wrestling in some shape or form. Yes, some of us may not like the form it takes when it highlights people like Joey Janela. Yes, some of us may not like the form it takes with some like Nyla Rose and Bemi. Yes, some of us may not like hardcore wrestling, or British strong style, or lucha libre, or highly produced products. That is okay. But how do we solve that part? It's simple. Just remind yourself, before commenting about a promotion you don't like, or a style you don't like, or a worker you don't like, that there are people out there that also don't like the things you like. So if you are cool with them saying to you what you were about to say to them, go for it. Just remember the definition of hypocrite, just in case. So in the end, the best way to move on is to ignore the negative, encourage the positive, and just be good to each other without taking the opinion of others as your own. Like what you like, let others like what they like. Debate and critique is okay. Backless and biased mudslinging does none of us any good. Be good to yourself and each other. Now, we'd love to hear your thoughts on this week's topic. What do you think can be done to eliminate the toxicity in the wrestling community? Do you think it is as bad as we do? Do you think it's getting worse every day? Why are you in this position of looking at ratings or looking at all these other things as a way to come up with your own opinion? Do you listen to Cornette and say, yeah, that's true, to validate your own opinion? Or are you confident enough in your own opinion that you don't need the validation from Cornette or Meltzer or any of these other toxic elements of the community? Let us know in the comments. If you agree with us, give us a like. If you don't agree with us, also give us a like. It's much appreciated. It helps us out. We're just trying to create a discussion, trying to bring things to light, and that's what we hope we're doing. And we want to hear what you guys think about it and want to hear your opinions. Valid opinions, though. Valid opinions. So, if you can, give us a share as well. Give us a follow so you never miss anything else. From there, we are going to move on now to Sound On, Sound Off. I'm going to do a little bit differently this week. We had some issues with Facebook, as some of you may know. We weren't able to get the same kind of distribution we did get, so Sound On, Sound Off, and He Said, She Said, You Said will be a little bit different this week. So as I said, for Sound On, Sound Off, what we're going to do is we're going to go over our questions that we asked you and give you our answers for them. Let's start with this week's NWA Power. So, this episode seemed like it was booked by Vince Russo with all the stupid finishes they did, including that very final finish, which a lot of us were pissed about. and rightfully so. What was worse for you? Dane throwing in the towel for himself, or the non-ending of the show that we were just talking about? It really looked like this week that NWA said the "hold my beer" after people were talking about how bad the ending to Blood and Guts was. Like, they're just like, oh, that was so bad. Oh, you think that was bad? Wait till you see what we did. Oh. So what do you think about the stipulation for Rosa and Camille that Rosa won't be able to compete outside of NWA if she loses? It's much different than a loser leaves. It's literally the opposite of a loser leaves town. And I kind of like it because it really fits that situation with her. Do you think that Rosa's time in AEW is coming to an end because of that stipulation now? What do you think? With it being a 14-man battle royal and current champions can't participate, does that mean that the whole male roster is going to be in that match for NWA now? I know, cheap shot, but like they don't have a lot of people that can really fill that out. Hence, a 14-man battle royal, right? Such a weird number to pick. All right, NXT time. So NXT, do you like that they are giving us high-profile matches every week? They seem to be giving us at least one or two either title matches or like few killing matches. And Aussie, when you don't do takeovers, actually they do takeovers regularly, so it's weird that they are giving these, especially without being competing with AEW now, right? So they're just no one. But I guess if we see the ratings they're getting, it's not really helping much, is it? It's like they're throwing the band-aids instead of actually just doing the actual stories long term that will get people to draw in, like AEW has done. Do you enjoy that the return of Bobby Fish to NXT? I just found out that the guy's 44 years old. I didn't realize how old he was. And he's still in NXT. Go figure. He's like the Kofi Kingston to Undisputed Era that Kofi Kingston is to New Day. So how long do you think it will be before $1 Million Man versus Cameron Grimes gets old? Like, it's every week. I'm enjoying it. And it's funny. I'm just so afraid of this getting overdone real quick. They have a history of doing that. When you like something and it's getting a good reaction, they just beat it like it's a dead horse, basically. Are you interested as us to see where Hit Row goes from here? And did anyone else think I said Hit Bow instead of Hit Row with their music or with their entrance video? I don't know. So which title match did you enjoy more this week? Did you like? Because we had a couple good title matches this week with that. Mercedes versus Raquel, and then we also the Cruiserweight title to 2 out of 3 falls. I don't know. I don't think they were quite as good as I was hoping for, but especially the women's title match. Still great matches, but we'll get into what our 5 favorite matches of the week were here shortly. Are you looking forward to Johnny Gargano versus Bronson Reed in the cage? I think it's a really great way, and I like to see what the cage is going to look like in that situation. So, how great do you think Austin Theory has been with this current character compared to when he first came into NXT? Do you like that he's pulling off the comedy really well? And how do you feel about Ever Rise ripping off Troy and Abed in the morning? If you haven't seen, they're doing their little morning talk show on the network. And if you look at it, if you're a fan of Community, you'll know that it's pretty much Troy and Abed in the morning. Or, as we should say, Troy and Abed in the morning. See, now you know what I'm talking about. So, from NXT, we go to AEW Dynamite thoughts. I felt this week was a really great way to bounce back from the show before. Then, are you happier that Miro is the new TNT champion, or that Lance Archer seems to be his next opponent? Seems they went from didn't push any of the guys that they were going for, and now all of a sudden they're pushing the 2 guys that everyone wanted to be pushed. It's just like they flipped a switch and said, let's do it. Do you feel that Rose is going to beat D for the NWA title on NWA TV or AEW TV? Like, it's just a matter of time before, like, Rose has got to be the one that beats her, right? Like, I don't think Camille's ever going to face her. And it's going to be Camille versus Rosa for the title at some point. At least that's me. I see Rosa winning their match at the pay-per-view, and then obviously seeing D lose to Rosa. Now, do you feel that Bubbly Bath was just a cheaper parody version of the Beer Bath or the Milkomania that WWE did? Like, it didn't it just seemed like there was a low stream and that the guys were Pinnacle were forced to get into the one corner, and it made Pinnacle look stupid. Like Pinnacle could easily have just like, oh, I'm just going to the other end of the ring and not get sprayed, because it was such a weak stream that it just, I don't know, it just made Pinnacle look stupid. That's all I'm saying. So, do you feel that it was always meant to be a no finish, or was Cassie injury forcing them into that finish? Because if you actually read up, it was supposed to be a non-finish. It was supposed to be a time limit draw, but then when Cassie got knocked out, they had to change it. I'm just glad that he's going to be okay, because I did read up that he was better after the show, but he was clearly out cold for a bit there. So which of the title matches did you think deserved to be the match of the night on Dynamite? I'll get to what I thought about the Dynamite matches in our 5. With that, we'll move on to NXT UK. So, were you shocked that they didn't wait until the final spot to reveal who would replace Xia Brookside in that gauntlet match? Usually whenever someone gets out, it's always the last spot that reveals who's going to be the new person in the match. Can Kaylee Ray come out on top again against Meiko Satomura? What do you think? Did you think that Amelia McKenzie was going to run the gauntlet as we did? It just felt like she was going to do, because that's exactly what they had just done in the Thunder Bastard match with Kenji in Progress. So the fact that Amelia came out as one of the first two, it really made me feel that was going to happen until she lost. So how do you feel about Bate telling Kid that Bate is not the one chasing A Kid? It's a really nice dynamic when you get the veteran telling the champion, the rookie champion, that no, I'm not the one chasing you. You are trying to chase me to get my reputation. I really like it. It was a nice little add-up switch. So what do you think about that new subculture entrance? A little bit different, right? And is Piper Niven ghosting Jack Stars now? Like, is that where they're going to go with Jack Stars telling Trent Severin, crying on his shoulder, they're like, Piper's not here. I'm disappointed, Piper. Like, she's so sad now that she's ghosting him. Like, come on. So how great was the opening Heritage Cup match between Noam Dar and Shaw Samuels? Those guys put on a really good match, which again, we'll get to in the 5 until I let you know what matches actually made it to our 5. So did you like seeing that heel work in the Heritage Cup match with Shaw Samuels coming out, and how they were starting to use the rules to their advantage, or to the disadvantage of the face? It's really nice to see how they were able to mix that into it this time. Alright, so now we've got Impact Thursday night, as well as last night's Under Siege, which I got to watch this morning. So we'll start with the show of Impact Wrestling. Who do you think is coming out of Under Siege as Kenny Omega's next contender? Who I thought was obviously going to be either Sammy or Moose. We of course saw last night which one it was, but they really did a good job at showing, like, they were obviously pushing both of those two as contenders, as we saw last night, which we'll get into. So do you like that new dissension between Scott D'Amore and Don Callis that's happening backstage, and Don Callis starting to get D'Amore getting a little peeved with what Callis is doing? I'm really liking that dynamic. D'Amore is really coming off as the true authority figure in all of wrestling. Like, he's not unbiased, he goes to both, he just says what a lot of the fans are doing, and I just love it. How great do you think Black Taurus has fit into Decay over the last couple months since joining? Like, he just seems like he's really part. Like, I noticed even last night in Under Siege, he kind of comes off as their pet. Like, they'll pet him and things like that. It's like, it's really neat. I don't know. So how do you feel about matches with meaning happening on BTI before the Impact that they do, before Impact airs? Some people were shocked this week when I mentioned who was actually in that match, and that they thought that match would have been Impact, and thought it was pointless. And now that I had explained that they actually are doing that on BTI every week now, and it's a common thing now. Am I the only one that thinks it's hard to believe that Juice Robinson is still the same dude as CJ Parker, the hippie from NXT? Like, it's just really weird. So is anyone else all in for Pinoy Pump as a team? Like, I love, just as I mentioned in the Sound Off for Under Siege, as someone who is a Canadian and who has lived in the Philippines, seeing a Filipino and a Canadian as a tag team, and two of my favorite Filipino and my favorite Canadian wrestler right now as a tag team. Too bad they didn't win last night, but still. So how awesome was that six-way scramble match for the X Division #1 contendership? It was pretty good. El Phantasmo is sick. The moves that guy can do, specifically the old school around halfway across the ring before getting Ace Austin up on his shoulders and hitting a Death Valley driver off the top turnbuckle onto the crowd on the outside. Like, come on. I know it might have been a little bit contrived how he got Ace Austin up on his shoulders, but beggars can't be choosers. That was still an awesome spot. That's all I'm saying. Were you surprised at how strong they made Havoc look in that match against Rosemary to determine who would face Deanna at the pay-per-view? I'm just saying, not pay-per-view, Impact Plus, but you know what I meant. So, now we'll move on to Under Siege. Speaking of El Phantasmo, Josh Alexander, El Phantasmo. Great match. Great match. El Phantasmo I'm sold on 100%. Keep the guy around in Impact for a while, or as long as you can keep him. Were you shocked over the title change? Like Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering just won the titles. First defense, they lose them back to Fire and Flava, just so Fire and Flava could be two-time knockout tag team champions. Not complaining. More Fire and Flava, please. Did you chuckle over Swinger calling Triple XL the natural disasters? Like, I kind of like that, as well as Larry D saying that Diamond carried Swinger. There's a lot of the good little references that were going on in that match, or that segment backstage for Swingers Palace. I think a lot of us agree that Swingers Palace is one of the best things going on right now. I love the little backstage, little offshoot segments they do. Do you feel like Kenny Omega is actually doing a good job at making his opponents in Impact looking good regardless of who wins? If you actually watch that 6-man tag from last night, you will see that he put over Eddie Edwards pretty good in that match. He might not have taken the pin, but you don't have to take the pin to put a guy over all the time. Especially when you got to protect the guy. Like, there's no denying, the guy is a triple world champion. He's got 4 title belts. You got to protect the guy. Anyone that thinks differently, that he's just going to come in and job out to every single person on the Impact roster, is kidding themselves. So what they did last night and what they keep doing with Kenny is doing a great job, I find. I personally feel. So, did you find that Swan running out to make the save for Mac from Morrissey was a tad predictable? Like, during the match, I'm even thinking about it, I'm like, Swan's got to come out, right? He's not on the card. He's got to have something to do. He's friends with Willie Mack. And you got to make Morrissey look like he's an angry bastard. So, I think they did a great job there. Even though if it was predictable, it still fits. It's just, they could have changed it up, made it a little less predictable. Maybe figure a little twist on it somehow. I don't know. So what do you think about Finjuice versus Ace Austin and Madman Fulton after Madman Fulton and Ace Austin won that 4-way #1 contendership last night? Do you think that's going to be a good match? Is that going to be against all odds, or are we going to see that on Impact? What do you think? So are you enjoying the kind of story going on between Taylor Wilde and Tennille Dashwood so far? Like, this is the first time, this is the further they've really gone with this can't get a tag team partner bit with Tennille, and I'm just really interested to see how far they'll take it. So that will be it for our sound on, sound off. So from there, what we'll do is we will go on to some of our pay-per-view predictions. We do have up on the main page right now our WrestleMania Backlash predictions, which are happening tonight, which will be live shortly after the podcast is done. Let's just bring that up here real quick. There it is. So, first one off, we have the triple threat for the Raw Women's Championship between Rhea Ripley, the champion, versus Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Myself and Neil have both picked Rhea Ripley, while Adam has picked Charlotte Flair. Joel Cox commented that Rhea has got this one. Pretty much everyone has voted for Rhea Ripley retaining. We also have the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, which has Dolph and Bobby Roode, aka the Dirty Dogs, versus the Mysterios. Myself, Neil, and Adam all have picked the Mysterios to win. Joel Cox also commented that he thinks we're right and it's going to be the Mysterios. However, it is split. 2/3 of you think the Dirty Dogs are actually going to retain, and only a third of you are picking the Mysterios to become the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. We have Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Cesaro tonight, with myself, Neil, and Adam picking Roman to retain. Joel saying that he would love to see Cesaro win, but we know it's his year, it's Roman's year, so big dog Roman wins. Then for the WWE Championship, we got Braun, we got Drew, and we got Bobby Lashley in another triple threat. Myself and Adam have picked Bobby to win and retain, while Neil is picking Braun Strowman to win. Joel makes his comment saying anybody but Bobby. His mic and ring work sucks. Don't agree with that. His ring work does not suck. Mic work, I gotta agree with you. So, as for the rest of you, we've got 2/3 of you saying Bobby's going to retain. 1/3 of you has said that Braun Strowman, like Neil, is going to actually get the win here. We'll see. Now, another unanimous one for all of us has said Bianca Belair is going to win this one. All of us. We said Bianca Belair is going to retain against Bayley. But Joel has said Bayley had her run, but I wouldn't mind another to set up for a Becky feud when she gets back, but I don't really care who wins. Fair enough. That's it for our predictions, which means we will go on to our 5. We've mentioned it all through the last couple segments. Our 5 from this week was a little hard to come up with, but we did get a few good matches this week. NXT UK had some good matches, but we had a lot to choose from. I could have probably made 7 or 8 top matches this week, but here we go. I'll give you the honorable mention. The Heritage Rules match from NXT UK should have been on. Could have been on there. Great match. The Gauntlet could have been on there. Great match. The last night's 6-way scramble kind of could have made it as well. It didn't. But what did was our number 5 match from Impact Wrestling on Thursday, the X Division number 1 contenders 6-way scramble, which was won by El Phantasmo, highlighting that huge spot that I mentioned a few minutes ago with Phantasmo doing the old school around half the ring and then hitting his his DVD from Ace Austin to the outside. Just fantastic. Loved it. 100% loved it. Now, we've got... where were we? After that, we see number 4. Go figure. He's on it again. El Phantasmo versus Josh Alexander from Under Siege last night. It was a great X Division match. X Division is killing it lately. As you can see, having 2 of the 5 matches, even if they are number 4 and 5, highly competitive week, as you'll see who the next 3 are. And speaking of which, number 3, Jon Moxley versus Yuji Nagata, Blue Justice from AEW Dynamite for the IWGP United States Championship. As someone who has seen Nagata live, it was fantastic to see him on AEW Dynamite. The two had a classic strong style match that if you love strong style, you're going to love it. They showed the respect afterwards. Perfect. Loved it. Number 2 is from NXT, and it is the 2 out of 3 Falls Cruiserweight Championship match between Santos Escobar and Kushida. Not as great as I thought it could have been, but it was still fantastic. Those two, is almost impossible to have a bad match, and it was nice to see Kushida come out with the win in the end. Now, I think we can all agree we can all guess what number 1 is after I've just said those 4, plus the honorable mentions. Number 1, from AEW Dynamite, the main event, Miro versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. It was exactly what we needed from Miro. Miro came out, dominated, destroyed Darby. Darby just wouldn't give up, gives him that never quit attitude, whilst making Miro look like the $1 million that we all wanted him to be, and that he finally is. I'm not one of these people that is bitching about how they booked Miro. I'm not. I think everything's been done well. They gave him a story. They didn't just come in and say, hey, here's this old WWE guy that you guys wanted to push, so we're going to push him. That's where TNA failed in so many ways. You don't just push a guy when he comes in. You got to have a story for him. And if you don't, when you're done the push, you got nothing. They just fizzle out. And that's one of the issues that TNA had during their heyday. We'll get back to that. So we want to hear from you and what your 5 favorite matches were from last week. Comment below with them so we can compare what you think. If you agree with our 5, or even if you don't, please give us a like on the video, as it would truly help us out with getting more people to join the community and share their opinion on what the best matches of the past week were. Alright, so like I said earlier in the episode, in the podcast, we had some issues with distribution, so we didn't get a lot of comments this week on our post because they weren't being able to be seen by a lot of people. So we have a loud opinion over here right now. I apologize for that. We got a cat being very loud. Alright, so I got a couple comments that really stood out that were on our main post. So if you really can, if you see our main post, if you don't see the post for our sound offs, you should be able to see our Let's Reacts for those shows as well. If you can, just comment on those, or if you don't and you just want us to know your opinion, give us a private message on what that show is. I'll remind you to get to do that again in a second, but first, let's go to Jamie T with his comments on the main post for NWA Power. He summed up our feelings on the show with his comments by saying, this show was fine until the ending, which made me shout, bull. The Mims versus Cross match was a good opener. Sour Naro getting squashed was obvious, but it keeps that story going. The Camille and Rosa segment was fine, but a little repetitive. Very true. Dane versus Boogie was a good match with an odd finish. I get the purpose of it, to play up the bind between the tag team partners and emphasize Boogie as a heel. But then just to cancel the proposed main events, which they had been hyping all on social media and during the whole show, without anything to replace it, was an even insult to the fans, and I'm genuinely angry about it. You're not the only one. Alright, so then we also had Adam B. make his comments on the main post for AEW Dynamite, saying what he thought about went down, saying, I thought the whole show was great. The Moxley Nagata match was badass, just 2 old school guys beating each other up. We knew SCU wasn't winning, but man did they put on a show tonight. Brought me back to memories of watching them both in TNA. I lost it when Kaz hit the Styles Clash. That was awesome. It was a really cool spot if you didn't see that. I really liked where Pac Orange was going, but the ending was weird, and I hope there isn't a legit injury involved, which was what made that actually an okay finish. I excused it because of a legit injury. I love Jade saying, I'm that bitch. That's a great line. It is. She delivers it very well, I will say that. The Miro win was surprising, but the right move. Darby has beaten too many big men, and he doesn't need the belt any longer since it seems like they're going with Page and Sky versus Darby and Sting. Agreed. And not Hangman Page, Ethan Page, down the road. I'm here for Miro versus Archer, 100%. I'm down for the multiple times, that multiple times, to be honest. Archer is one of my favorite guys to watch in AEW, and he's just so underutilized because he's a legit monster and so athletic for his size. Excellent show tonight. Great. And thank you very much for your comments, guys. I always appreciate hearing from you, especially regulars like Adam and Jamie there. As always, like I said, be sure to comment with your thoughts on any of our last React streams, any of our sound off posts, or just send us a message and we can include them in next week's He Said, She Said, You Said. If you like the segment, even if it was a little shorter than all last week, give us a like, give us a comment, what you thought of any of the shows this week, or the past week. Alright, so with that said, we're going to move on to our final segment, a repeat from last week, because we got some more stuff came in, as you can see behind me. We got a couple figs came in from Ringside Collectibles. Now, I'm not a big mock collector, as you guys saw with me doing the unboxing last week. So, I want to go over, one of the things I do is I do like to buy those damaged packaging deals from Ringside Collectibles. And I was able to get a couple dollars off on these 2 figures. One being the top pick, 2021, Drew McIntyre. First Drew in the collection for myself. I'm going to open up him in a second. And then the Ultimate Warrior Royal Rumble. My first Rumble. Now I'm going to show you what the damaging packaging is, just so that if you were wondering what it looks like when you get it. Now first, this one, it's all indented in the back. Like I can feel, you can see it right here is the crease where the bend is. So it's pushed in there. And then you've got your little rips. You can see here, a little bit of damage. And then you got a little bit of damage around, like in this corner here, the bottom corner. There you go, you got that. But as I said, I am not a mock collector. But if you want to know the risk, you can see the McIntyre, which is in a lot better condition. The only real issue is you can see this bend on this guy here. Bends back a little bit, where normally we're used to that being our flat. That's really the only real imperfection I could find on this damaged packaging. As you can see, it looks pretty good. And this was classified damaged packaging. So, really good. That said, let's get these open and look at these belts, because you know me, I'm a title collector, and I want to see what this good go guy likes. While we're doing that, I noticed that Neil did give us a comment in the chat over on Facebook, saying that what are the odds that Dominic turns on Ray like Owen did to Brett? Well, it's father and son, so it's going to be a little bit different, but I know your point, and it's possible, but really, it's WWE, who cares? Alright, so you get a nice little, I like these with the Royal Rumble. It is bent as well because it was in the box, so of course the cardboard backing is, you can see that, but that's nice. I like the little Royal Rumble, so for the picture taken, that may come in handy. I may end up using that. So I'm going to keep that one. Get rid of that box. So we've got one thing that I really like here is the heads they got. Anyone that comes with any wrestler that has face paint, I want them to come with heads with their elite figures like this, where the paint's coming off. Yeah, it doesn't want to focus on his head, but you can kind of see it there where the paint's coming off. I like to get the small parts out of the packaging first, so that when I'm taking him out of here, I gotta take these little plasticky thingies. Alright, let's get him out here. I got the little there we go, we got it. Alright. Let's look at that. It's the only problem when it's in the pose. So hard to get the elbows to go, or shoulders and arms to go down. I have to work on that, get them a nice little fig bath. But, like, these are not like your normal this is your rubber style. You got a little rubber there, so it will hold up if you want it to. We got him wearing the gold Intercontinental belt, which I'll add to with my black one. Got to have as many little designs as we can on these guys. I like a little yellow. It is more yellow than gold, but we all know. We know. It's gold. We know what's going on. Let me just get this. See if we can get that moving around. There we go. Try not to, gotta work it in a little bit. There we go. So we got his arms down a bit. Well, pretty sweet, you know. Warrior. He's got little colors on his boots. Got the little tassels down there too on his knee pads. Nice little addition to the collection. That one's good. Ah, you just fell down. Alright, let's get his feet. It's funny, he's so stiff everywhere else, but his feet are so loose, so he fell over pretty quickly. Alright, let's get this Drew open. And then, once we're done that, we'll be done for the day, and we will move on and end the stream and then come back in a bit for our main event with Backlash. Alright, so we got a little bit more extra stuff here with Drew. We got his little wet head look. I call that the wet head look for figures with the heads, with the hair going over the face, like Pac has one from his Unrivaled figure. Alright, we did have a little piece of plastic inside his gear here, so don't want to see that just fall down like that. Let's see. There we go, his hands, get those out. I really like his jacket though. It's a nice jacket. Might be able to use that for a couple figures, not just for Drew, because this is actually kind of skinny too. So it might fit some other figures, because Drew's a pretty big guy in this figure. There we go. Got him out. Alright, so you can see, pretty big. Paint job's pretty good. Just gotta get those feet working. Go. See if we can get the jacket on him, see what it looks like with the jacket on. Gotta do it the right way. There we go. Slicking it on. Let's get it on. Doesn't want to get past this elbow. There we go. That was not easy to do. In fact, I'm just going to pop his head off. Helps it get behind his hair a little bit better, right? There we go. Got the jacket on. Like I said, it's a little short jacket on Drew. It doesn't come close to covering up because you got to show off that chest of him, right? Now, of course, it could. I'll notice tonight if. There we go. Much easier getting it on over. Instead of getting it under, we got it on. We got the nice little jacket. Oh, woo, leg action there. All right, so let's just switch that out. Just see what it looks like with the wet head. Always hard to get the secondary one back. Get the secondary head on the first. Oh man. Didn't get that one fully on. Sometimes the heads don't like to work, eh? Gotta get him and Pac versus each other now. We'll compare those figures maybe next time. And his head just comes right off. I'm never good at getting the heads on them. I feel like I'm gonna squish their head. Squishing the head. Squishing the head. Let me know in the comments if you know what that's from. No, I'm gonna have to work on it later. Alright, well that's it for now. Alright, buddy, everybody, we've been on for 43 minutes here. We're gonna wrap it up here. Until next time, we much appreciate you guys joining us. If you can, like, comment, subscribe, follow, whatever you can do, wherever you're watching us. It's always much appreciated. Until next time,